there's one good thing about the selfie world and how close in everybody is. It's that the scales fall from your eyes. We're all just people, and that's...
She's called the greatest actress of her generation, but Meryl Streep has always been cinema's most devoted student, the woman who can disappear into any accent, any era, any soul, who transforms so completely that audiences forget they're watching a performance. But when she reflects on the films that sculpted her craft, Streep doesn't sound like a legend. She sounds like someone still learning. Acting is not about being someone different. It's about finding the similarity in what is apparently different, then finding myself in there. For Streep, cinema has never been about stardom or accolades. It's been about the truth. The kind of truth that lives in the space between words, in the pause before a decision, in the moment when a character's mask finally falls away. The performances that rewrote her understanding of what acting could be, the directors who showed her that vulnerability was strength, the films that proved greatness comes not from perfection, but from absolute honesty. From kitchen sink dramas to operatic epics, from intimate character studies to sweeping historical canvases, Streep's 6 favorite films reveal more than technique. They reveal a philosophy. Here comes Meryl Streep naming her 6 favorite movies, the films that taught her how to find truth in pretending. 6. Persona, 1966. Bergman made a psychological puzzle about an actress who stops speaking and the nurse who cares for her. And for Streep, watching Bibi Andersson and Liv Ullmann blur the boundaries between self and other, it was the first time she understood that silence could be more powerful than any monologue. The revelation that acting wasn't about what you say, but what you withhold. I think I should go to bed, or I'll say something I don't mean. The story defied conventional narrative. Elizabeth, a stage actress, falls mute mid-performance and retreats to a seaside cottage with Alma, a talkative nurse who gradually unravels as her patient remains silent. But Bergman's genius wasn't in the plot. It was in the mirror he held up to the act of performance itself. The film asked, where does the actor end and the character begin? Streep discovered it during her early training at Yale, when she was learning that the most profound acting happens in the spaces between lines. Here was proof that cinema could be as complex as any literary text, that faces could convey entire novels without uttering a word. The famous shot where Ullmann and Andersson's faces merge became her meditation on empathy. You see persona in every Streep performance, where she listens more than she speaks, the way she absorbs other characters' energy in the hours, how she becomes a vessel for other stories in The Iron Lady. Bergman taught her that the actor's greatest tool isn't the voice, it's the capacity to receive. Persona showed me that acting is less about expression and more about impression, about becoming a mirror that reflects truth back to the world. 5. Ombberto D, 1952. De Sica. De Sica made a film about an elderly pensioner facing eviction that contained no plot in all of life. And for Streep, watching Carlo Battisti's retired professor struggle to maintain dignity while his world systematically stripped it away, it was a revelation about how acting could find the universal in the utterly specific. The understanding that the smallest gestures could carry the weight of entire civilizations. What have I done to deserve this? The story was almost cruelly simple. An old man can't pay his rent. His landlady wants him gone. He considers suicide but can't abandon his small dog. But De Sica's genius was in the accumulation of tiny humiliations, the way social systems could grind down human spirit through bureaucratic indifference. Every frame was an act of witness to invisible suffering. Streep discovered it when she was learning that the most powerful performances often came from characters society overlooked. Here was a film that found epic drama in a pension check, that made an elderly man's dignity feel as important as any king's crown. The relationship between Ombberto and his dog became her meditation on unconditional love. You see Ombberto D in every Streep performance where she inhabits society's margins. The way she finds nobility in ordinary struggle and doubt. How she makes invisible women visible in The Iron Lady. De Sica taught her that cinema's greatest responsibility was bearing witness to those the world preferred to ignore. Ombberto D showed me that acting is ultimately about empathy, about lending your voice to those who have been silenced by circumstance or time. 4. Jean Dealman, 23 Quai du Commerce, 1080 Bruxelles, 1975. Ackerman made a 3-hour film about a widow's daily routine that felt like watching time itself. And for Streep, observing Delphine Seyrig perform the most mundane task with obsessive precision until tiny cracks begin to show. It was a masterclass in how the ordinary could become extraordinary through absolute commitment to detail. The story was deliberately anti-dramatic. A Brussels housewife follows the same schedule every day: cooking, cleaning, brief encounters with male clients to supplement her income. But Ackerman's genius was in the accumulation, the way repetition revealed character, how small variations in routine suggested entire inner worlds shifting beneath the surface. Streep discovered it during a period when she was questioning what constituted worthy subject matter for serious acting. Here was a film that found infinite complexity in a woman making dinner, which suggested domestic life was as rich with dramatic potential as any battlefield or boardroom. The long takes forced viewers to observe rather than consume, to see performance as behavior rather than exhibition. You see Jean Dealman in Streep's fearless commitment to unglamorous truth, the way she finds dignity in ordinary women in Silkwood, how she inhabits domestic spaces with complete authenticity in Kramer versus Kramer. Ackerman taught her that the most radical thing an actress could do was make the invisible visible, to give weight to experiences that cinema typically overlooks. Jean Dealman showed me that every gesture contains a universe, that the most profound dramas happen in kitchens and bedrooms, not just on stages. The film proved that watching someone live truthfully for 3 hours was more engaging than watching someone perform heroically for 90 minutes. 3. The Rules of the Game, 1939. Renoir made a comedy of manners that cut like a surgical blade through French society. And for Streep, watching the aristocrats and servants dance around each other during a weekend hunting party while their world crumbled beneath them, it was a revelation about how ensemble acting could create a symphony of human behavior. The awful thing about life is this: everyone has their reasons. The story seemed like an elegant farce. A wealthy aviator, his mistress, his wife, and their various servants gather at a country estate for a hunting weekend that becomes a battlefield of romantic intrigue. But Renoir's genius was in the democracy of his camera, the way he refused to privilege any single character's perspective over another's. Every person in the frame had equal claim to humanity. Streep studied it obsessively during her training, learning how individual performances could serve a larger orchestration without sacrificing specificity. Here was proof that acting could be both deeply personal and inherently collaborative, that the best ensemble work elevated everyone rather than showcasing stars. The film's fluid camera movements became her template for generosity. You see rules of the game in every Streep performance, where she serves the story rather than dominating it. The way she anchors ensemble pieces like The Hours without overwhelming her co-stars, how she finds her character's place within the larger social fabric in films like The Post. Renoir taught her that great acting creates space for others to be great too. The Rules of the Game showed me that cinema at its best is a collective art form, that the most powerful performances lift everyone around them. Because real greatness isn't about stealing scenes, it's about giving them away. 2. Tokyo Story, 1953. Ozu made a film about time that moved like time itself. And for Streep, watching elderly parents visit their grown children in Tokyo only to discover they've become strangers, it was the most devastating education in how much can be communicated through what isn't said. The understanding that the deepest emotions live in the silences between words. Life is disappointing, isn't it? The story was heartbreakingly simple. An aging couple travels from their rural village to see their successful children in the city, but find themselves inconvenient guests in lives too busy to accommodate love. But Ozu's genius was in his restraint, the way he filmed ordinary conversations with the weight of entire lifetimes, pressing down on every exchange. Streep encountered it when she was beginning to understand her own relationship with aging, both as a person and as an actress in an industry obsessed with youth. Here was a director who found profound beauty in elderly faces, who understood that the most complex performances often come from characters who have lived long enough to accept disappointment without bitterness. You see Tokyo Story in Streep's later performances where she embraces rather than disguises her age. The quiet devastation in the hours, the accumulated wisdom in the post, the way she allows time to show on her face rather than fighting it. Ozu taught her that acting wasn't about preserving youth, but about honoring the full spectrum of human experience. The film's famous low camera angles, shot from the perspective of someone sitting on tatami mats, influenced her understanding of how point of view shapes performance. She learned to act not just for the camera, but for the specific way the camera was seeing. 1. Bicycle Thieves, 1948. Desika made a film about a man searching for his stolen bicycle that became the most honest portrayal of human dignity under pressure ever captured on celluloid. And for Streep, watching Lamberto Maggiorani's Antonio drag his young son through Rome's streets in increasingly desperate pursuit of their livelihood, it was the moment she understood that great acting wasn't about technique, it was about truth. This is the film that taught me everything I know about being real on camera. The story was neorealism distilled to its essence. A poor man needs his bicycle to work. It gets stolen. He and his son spend a day searching, their hope and dignity eroding with each dead end. But Desika's genius was in casting non-professional actors who weren't performing poverty but living it, who brought authenticity that no amount of training could manufacture. Streep discovered it during her foundational years and returned to it throughout her career whenever she needed to remember why she became an actress. Here was proof that cinema's greatest power lay not in escapism, but in recognition, in holding up a mirror to ordinary people and finding the extraordinary within them. The relationship between Antonio and his son became her template for every parent-child dynamic she would ever play. You see Bicycle Thieves in every Streep performance where she strips away artifice to find essential humanity. The working-class dignity in Silkwood, the maternal protection in Kramer vs. Kramer, the way she finds universal emotions in specific circumstances. Desika taught her that the camera could see through pretense to the human heart beneath. And there it is, 6 films that didn't just teach Streep how to act, they taught her how to be human on camera. Not the obvious choices, but the essential ones. The films that proved authenticity trumps technique, that truth is the only currency that matters. What films taught you about being real?